I mean, we've seen Noble adapt throughout the season, usually losing game 1, then coming back and winning game 2. Have to see if, in Memory of Gabe, you take a page out of their opponent's book and make an adaptation and change the way they like to play in order to find a victory here in game 2. Zeus immediately banned away by a Memory of Gabe, who's still in that first pick position. Last time around, we saw them first pick Geb, and really that was the early game focus for Noble, was picking off Eonic on that Geb. Be curious to see if they're going to go that way again.
And they did manage to find a couple picks here and there onto Eonic. He did have the first 2 devs on the side of Memory of Gabe, but it didn't matter too much. There were still some responses from them finding other kills as well. You know, they did pick off Wowy that one time during his rotation, but look at this. Yep. Immediately for Hurriwind, it's going to be the Janus.
This does leave Thoth open for Noble, though he has just been nerfed. That Evade and Punish doesn't go through the entire team anymore. It will stop at the first God hit, a la On Her Impale, same sort of deal. Batz immediately locked in for Noble, though, and you can't blame him because Chapo looked phenomenal on this God last game.
Taking away Eonic's Gab, so this is going to be really interesting to see how Eonic's going to transition away, not having the God in the second game. And with the Batz onto Chapo, what do you think here that Stealth is going to play? Because now not having the Janus, how do you match the mobility from Chapo?
I mean, Thoth does a pretty good job. He's got a long-range dash that can follow up on a blink very, very easily, as long as long-range damage that he doesn't, if he doesn't want to commit his dash, he can do so from very far down the lane. Follow up with that. Awilix and Hercules going to be the selections here for In Memory of Gabe. Really trying to shut down this Batz, but immediately Wowy goes to one of his most comfortable picks, this Cupid. He loved this AoE cripple, and it really shuts down every God that Gabe has drafted so far.
Absolutely. Awilix is not going to be able to feather step during that. That's a huge damage output for her. That's taken away with that
Same
ultimate.
with Driving Strike. Driving Strike's the majority of Hercules' damage, and he can't use it while crippled as well.
Taking the portals as well is going to be a little tricky for Memory of Gabe, so great selection here. Noble have also, it's not just Memory of Gabe that have adapted. Despite winning the last game so convincingly, Noble have done their homework, clearly doing some great counter pick strategies.
Thoth and Poseidon going to be the bans, focusing out MLC Stealth in that middle lane, who's known to not have the biggest God pool in the world, but one of the most effective God pools. Nuwa is going to be the selection, with 3 mid laners banned out and a 4th picked away by In Memory of Gabe. We've seen a little bit more Nuwa recently. She had disappeared from the meta a little bit. Now she seems to be back. That's Skadi right there for Snoopy, it looks like.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a Skadi. Skadi does a lot of damage once you do have that Transcendence, so Snoopy could be looking for a lot of early plays here against the Cupid, as well as having a little bit of mobility once you drop the ice rank below you. That's how you're really going to get out of the danger from Cupid's ultimate. What's the point of picking, you know, somebody that has an escape if you're going to get crippled anyway?
That's a great point. Love that selection from Snoopy. And then Cabrakan as well, getting that slow immunity with his first ability, going to be able to get him out of that Fields of Love very, very easily. Vamana, again, going over to Uzzy, one of his comfort picks as well. Noble staying tried and true in that solo lane. Memory of Gabe a lot more aggressive here with this composition, much more early game focused. Do you expect it to be Cabrakan or Hercules in the support role?
I think that knowing Eonic is probably going to be Cabrakan, but we're going to look at it right now. It's actually going to be Hercules for him. It's Whalrus playing this Cabrakan. Now, the matchup here is interesting because Uzzy can knock up Whalrus during the Tremors anyway, so you might as well go Hercules, but putting Hercules in support, as long as he makes these early rotations, we saw what Frezzy was able to do with it.
Wubbn forced to go into rollout, though that isn't really a big loss, as that's actually your best DPS at level 1. You can roll, if you can find a way to roll into the minion wave, gives you a little bit of extra clear, but that is very, very risky to do, especially up against a Hercules in lane.
Especially, like, a lot of teams are looking for proxying between tier 1 and tier 2. You would have to find the right angle and then hope that nobody's going to interrupt your roll to get under that wave. So you're better off picking up the knock-up, as well as disrupting a lot of damage coming from that wave. You're going to save a lot of life points on not only yourself, but your ally.
Well, that didn't really have a choice there. Forced to go into the rollout just to get away from the enemy team. Stealth and Chapo in the middle lane here up against Cynosure and Hurriwind. Both teams pretty decent clear, but In Memory of Gabe getting the better end of that. Nuwa's clear. Takes a little bit of time to get going with that Shining Metal.
Now, off of clearing out the mid lane, immediately Memory of Gabe looks to invade the speed buff. 1-on-1 on the right, 2-on-2 on the left. And Noble, they're not going to respond with an invade of their own. Instead, they're going to like to grab their own red buff for MLC Stealth.
Ooh, no Driving Strike available for Eonic to push Wubbn back in after getting knocked up. Instead of going to the middle wave, Cynosure and Hurriwind try and put a little bit of extra pressure onto Uzzy. Like you mentioned, Memory of Gabe really like to get Whalrus a lead in this solo lane and are now trying to do just that, getting that blue buff over to their solo laner.
Level 2 for both dual lane support and hunter. Eonic's pull is still down for a little bit longer. Gonna get slowed out, having to go into the role. Purple buff is available to be invaded on, but have to back off. MIA call has been made in the mid lane, but instead of rotating to the left, grabbing these oracles, just maximizing your farm every step of the moment.
Not only your farm, but your vision as well. That no wards out by either team early on in this game, so this is the only way to get that. There's the purification beads used by Cynosure. MLC Stealth in a lot of trouble, no mobility, and as a result, Cynosure able to pick up that first blood. Great cutoff there by Hurriwind and Cynosure, and MLC Stealth knew he was in trouble right away.
Once you don't have the portals, MLC's just an easier target to go on, and this is something Memory of Gabe is probably going to lean on a little bit further on, especially considering that the beads was used in that last engagement.
Absolutely. Eonic going to eat a knock up here, and a slow from Wubbn if he can find the mark, but Eonic going to driving strike away. Love the quick purification there by Cynosure. Knew that he had a kill opportunity, didn't hesitate, immediately pops up purification beads to avoid the clay minion stun from MLC Stealth, which was really the only way that he could have gotten away in that scenario.
And this is a complete 180 between the last match and this one. It's Memory of Gabe that's up 1,000 gold at this point. The invades on the right-hand side between Speed and Blue has been great on the left, though. Wubbn taking a lot of damage. Wowy getting pulled in, but he has the dash available. Meditate from Eonic's going to keep Snoopy alive in this laning phase a little bit longer.
Neither team has a lot of excellent clear in this duo lane. Skadi does have good clear once she's able to max out that first ability, but takes a little bit of time to get there. Cupid, certainly known for having one of the weaker clears in that duo lane, especially paired with Geb. Noble really looking for the mid game more so than the early game in that duo lane.
Absolutely, which is why we see him also rushing for that Transcendence on the side of Cupid for Wowy, whereas Snoopy's looking for a more aggressive option, trying to rush boots, maximizing his mobility, maybe chasing out Wowy, as well as having defensive options just to be able to escape that Cupid ultimate.
Of course, Wowy has that dash, able to get away if there's any sort of gank potential from someone like Cynosure. Whereas Snoopy on Skadi, he's got to really rely on that mobility. He does get a little bit of extra by walking over his ice. His third ability gives him a little bit of a 3-second speed boost there, but still not a whole lot available to get away from Elchapo if he is to show up in that left side.
Level 5 onto Snoopy. He's going to look to back, finish off his boots here, sitting on a decent amount of gold in hand here. Going to look to finish off the Warrior Tabby, more than likely, trying to get the physical power. Probably going to go into Transcendence afterwards, but right-hand side. Speed buff being looked at.
Nice stun on the Cynosure there. Trying to buy Chapo enough time. Through space of time, going to hit 1. It looks like it only hit Wubbn. Huge Fear No Evil hits 4. Cynosure, no beads available. Trying to get away. Is able to jump up over the wall. Great boulder from Eonic. Wubbn locked in there by the ultimate from Whalrus, and he pounds the ground in time to pick him up. Stealth trying to handle the support on the left-hand side, while Uzzy and Chapo, they're trying to chase out the rest of a Memory of Gabe, who are all able to escape with low HP.
Eonic was not even worried about stealth. He just decided to like, all right, this speed buff's like about 1 or 2 more in hands. I'm going to let you hit me. I'm going to hit the speed buff, pick up, run away from you. And now this is also hurting Elchapo because he also lost his speed buff earlier on. Speed and blue was stripped away on the right earlier on, and this is the second gone.
Oh, trying to make something happen on this right-hand side, but Whalrus actually trying to turn it around onto Uzzy. Very, very low, as is Chapo. The tremors. Can Chapo get out of them in time? Actually forced to beads there.
He had to use the purification beads just to get away from tremors. That's so unfortunate for Chapo, but obviously better safe than sorry. So great use of that relic choice defensively. That's going to give a lot of opportunity now for Cynosure to look for more plays here. Having a 1-level lead, he does have Warrior Tabby over Chapo as well as the Bluestone Pendant, so he's going to be doing a lot of damage, and without that beats, that's going to be an easy target to find a pull.
Eonic, the driving strike onto Wubbn. Good amount of damage after that unstable vortex as well, but the portal nor the pull from Eonic going to be able to interrupt that rollout from Wubbn on the Geb, which is, again, one of his most comfortable gods in that support role. We've seen so far this game, Toli, exactly why Cabrakan is starting to see some bans at the SPL level. So much control on that solo side of the map.
It's just really obnoxious once you have a little bit of damage in the form of Shoes of the Magi to be able to just spam that ability away. As long as you have the blue buff, which Whalrus has been doing a good job in terms of invading the first one around, even having the mana chalice, you can spam that ability very efficiently, and you're also going to be able to generally out-rotate a lot of enemy opponents because of the fact that you pop that steroid, you don't always do it just for the damage. You just do it for the mobility to go from your soul lane to mid.
And like I mentioned, the slow immunity going to pay big dividends in this matchup, particularly up against Uzzy in the soul lane. Not going to be able to get slowed by that Umbrella Rang. And then, of course, the Fields of Love from Wowy, who hasn't been able to make an impact quite yet in this game. But like we mentioned, he's kind of waiting until he finishes off that Transcendence to really start playing aggressive.
Cupid has a lot of scaling in his abilities off of the Heart Bomb, also off of that Fields of Love. So it's a great idea to get that Transcendence as well of spamming those hearts to be able to get your teammates topped off here.
And again, Whalrus just pounding the ground, making sure Uzzy is taking a little bit of extra damage. There's the Fields of Love, and it does force out the Purification from Snoopy. So this is a great composition for someone like Cupid, because if you can get those Purification out, it's going to make Chapo's job on Hunbats a lot easier. That's exactly what he's waiting for, is Purification to be on cooldown to find these Fear No Evils.
Despite utilizing his speed buff off of the ice rink underneath his feet, Snoopy still needed to beads there. If he's in the middle of Fields of Love, he has to get out of there as quickly as possible. The slow is just too much to really work with at this point in the game.
Whalrus here trying to steal away the speed buff, but he realizes it's 1 against 4. But look at how much damage he's doing to Stealth already through space and time. Brings the rest of the Memory of Gabe here. Chapo does have the speed buff this time. There's the Fear No Evil. Looking at Hurriwind, very, very low, trying to chase him through the portal, but the threshold separates him enough to make sure he's safe. Eonic trying to get away, as is Whalrus, who actually gets stunned out by that Heart Bomb. Body blocked and nowhere to go. Wowy able to pick up the first kill for Noble.
Wowy making the rotation before Snoopy can. That was a well-positioned rotation as well. Whalrus was so aggressive, doing so much damage onto Stealth, but it was great positioning by the rest of Noble, specifically on Wubbn's Cataclysm and the Fear No Evil from Chapo, keeping their mid laner alive.
Eonic taking quite a bit of damage, but he's got the help of Snoopy, who's level 10 already, top level in the game for the Hunter for In Memory of Gabe. That's why you see, even with the numbers disadvantage, they want to play aggressive around this Skadi. They're looking for MLC Stealth in the jungle. He's got no mobility. Wubbn, the Fields of Love is good though, and Snoopy's gonna fall. Nice pull back in from Cynosure, and they, despite the shield, the Feather Step, enough to finish off the support. Chapo's here. Doesn't have that Fear No Evil though. Hurriwind falling very low, and Uzzy able to return the kill. 2 for 1 in favor of Noble. Just a little bit too deep for In Memory of Gabe.
So slippery's MLC Stealth, not able to find the kill, was the initial game plan from Memory of Gabe onto that mid laner, but yet again surviving by himself, as well as the ultimate from his Hunter this time around, the Fields of Love. Doing a good job slowing people down, messing them out as well. And this is something that everyone from Noble have just been leaning on, making sure that MLC Stealth is comfortable and not going to get picked off.
Wowy, again, having an unbelievable game in the Hunter role. I mentioned it early on in the first game of the set last time around, but he's still on that cusp. He's still working his way up, but a lot of people are talking about this guy as having the potential to be one of the top hunters in North America.
He's been doing a good job so far this game with 2 kills. He's trying to finish off his Transcendence, and he's prioritizing rotating for team fights instead of looking to finish off that Transcendence. It shows what kind of a team player he actually is, and he's been making that rotation to help out find the pick onto Whalrus. The rest of Noble, though, still doing a good job so far, being able to bounce back a little bit off of the early deficit.
Gold Fury is up and available for the taking. In Memory of Gabe still has a slight lead. The knock up there from Cynosure, but no pull in. Didn't have the ultimate, actually. That's why you see no ultimate there from Cynosure. Great knock up through the wall, either by Eonic or Cyno, whoever was able to find that. Wubbn, a little bit in an awkward spot here. Cynosure does have Gravity Surge available this time around, so they're looking to play around that pullback from Eonic, which can, of course, set you up. Whalrus, he's made the rotation, though. Forces Stealth up into the sky very, very early on, and that's exactly what you want to do against Nuwa. Force out that ultimate and make sure she's got nowhere to go once you jump on her.
And that's also a huge... Not only is it saving the life of MLC Stealth here, but the next time that the aggression from Memory of Gabe goes on to Stealth, that distance or the hang time from that new ultimate lasts so long, so it's so easy for her to get out of danger.
There's a Cataclysm onto Eonic, trying to secure the speed buff, and Cynosure is able to steal it away. There's the Fear No Evil onto Eonic, but he's so tanky already, and the through space and time is good to give him an escape route. Very, very low. MLC Stealth is going to fall. There's the Fields of Love, forces out the Purification. Wowy in the right side jungle yet again. Snoopy trying to dive this tower, but the great teleport there from Chapo makes sure Snoopy doesn't know exactly where he is. No mobility there. Uzzy, meanwhile, forcing out the rest of the team. Snoopy still trying to get away. There's that speed buff. Uzzy over the wall, finds the armored umbrella, but it's not quite enough damage to finish off the Hunter.
Not yet, and Eonic's making sure that Snoopy's going to be able to get out. His long-term lane partner is going to walk out of danger there with 1% health. Great play coming out of Snoopy. Not able to find a kill onto Chapo, but he's confident enough to look for it anyway, and that teamfight was basically a wash. Still about a 1,300 goal lead for Memory of Gabe. Gold Fury still hasn't even been looked at by either team.
Well, you can see that a Noble have to recognize that Eonic cannot be the focus anymore. He eats that entire duration of Fear No Evil and still doesn't fall below 20% HP. He's on this Hercules. He's got the Mark of the Vanguard as well as the Reinforced Greaves. The exact opposite of what Frezzy was going for, basically. Frezzy goes for the War Flag, goes for the Sunder. He's got the Shield of Regrowth, second item. He's going to be in your face, aggressive. Eonic's going to be in your face, but just not die while he's doing it.
It just goes to show you could still play the same god, but utilize a different build with it. As long as you have the teammates to play off of your build, having the defensive Hercules, he goes in like this. He finds a pull onto Wubbn, and then the rest of the damage comes online.
The boulder is good as well. A lot of damage coming to that dog. Through space of time is going to hit, but not quite enough damage. Wubbn just able to escape. Uzzy, or excuse me, Nuwa up in the sky there with the fire shards, as well as Fields of Love. A lot of ultimates used there defensively for Noble. That's why you see Memory of Gabe trying to start this up. Uzzy around the backside, lots of damage onto Hurriwind, but knocked up and pulled in right away by Cynosure, falling very, very low, and Snoopy and the dog able to put Uzzy in the ground.
Everything, including the kitchen sink, was thrown at Uzzy during that ultimate. If you're not going to kill him fast enough during that Colossal Fury, he's going to extend the duration and get even more sustained. Though Chapo, though, he has Fear No Evil. He's looking to come behind.
Wowy is blocked off. There's the jump. There's the Fear No Evil. Finds Ford, is trying to separate Snoopy from the rest of the team. He does so, but Snoopy isn't scared. He's boxing it out. MLC Stealth, meanwhile, the wrong spot, the wrong time. Eonic able to find his first kill of the match. 6-3 in Memory of Gabe are just continually baiting Noble in and punishing them over and over again around this Gold Fury.
It seemed that Stealth wanted to flank during that Fear No Evil. It wanted to be a 2v3 option there, but having to pick and choose as to where Chapo wanted to go instead of going for the Gold Fury side, it left MLC Stealth left alone and exposed. And this is the difference between MLC Stealth that's left alone in the beginning of the game playing the Janus versus getting targeted now with 3 deaths in the game. Still the same level as Hurriwind, though.
Absolutely. He doesn't get that early lead that he did on the Janus, and he doesn't have that mobility, the escapability. And this draft for Memory of Gabe is even better than their last one at chasing down immobile targets. Cabrakan, one of the best when it comes to walling off immobile mages and hunters and junglers. You've seen Whalrus continually try and find MLC Stealth with that Seismic Crush, even underneath his tower, just forcing out shards of ice every single time.
It's very unconventional for these mages to not have some sort of disengage. You're normally used to seeing even a Scylla in certain positions against such an aggressive composition from Memory of Gabe, especially on the side of Janus. So first pick Janus and you pick a Nuwa where you're going to get heavily focus fired. This just goes to show, like you mentioned before, Stealth, I don't necessarily think that he has a limited god pool. I just think that he likes to prefer to play these unconventional gods because a lot of players aren't used to playing against them.
And you can see that the Geb selection does work very well, at least on paper, in terms of protecting someone like a Nuwa who is going to get jumped on by this composition for Memory of Gabe, but Wubbn just isn't high enough level quite yet to provide the stone shields that are working at this stage. Eonic trying to find a pick with the rest of In Memory of Gabe. They follow this exact same formula every time. Ward coverage around this side of the map, and then baiting the enemy into the Gold Fury.
Eonic not able to find the pull that he's looking for, taking a little bit of damage from the fog, from Stealth, doing a good job avoiding the unstable vortex. This is just a point in time where both teams are going to feel each other out around this Gold Fury. Not that big of a lead for Memory of Gabe to really start up the Gold Fury quite yet. They haven't forced out any ultimates either, so they're just going to look for a pull from Eonic instead.
Just trying to set up that gravity surge for Cynosure in particular. Could also wait and see if Whalrus can wall someone off with that ultimate. Only Chapo is going to be able to get up and over those walls provided by Whalrus's ult. Uzzy decides that he's done dancing around this Gold Fury and wants to farm up a little bit. But in Memory of Gabe, they're also done dancing. They want to start up the Gold Fury.
Gold Fury's about 50% health. Uzzy's dashing on through. He doesn't have too much mana here. He's going to get stunned out, forced to go into the ultimate. Here comes Chapo.
Looking for Snoopy. There's the through space of time, but Whalrus completely walled off there by that Fields of Love, and Wowie's able to pick him up. Uzzy still just in that front line. No one able to deal with that big baby. 1-for-0. Noble does a great job of splitting up the team fight.
This ultimate from Chapo is the key to that last engagement. Hurriwind's still on the side, though. He's looking for maybe an unstable vortex. Gold Fury is really low. We're going to be reset, though, because Cynosure is very low. He's forced to disengage. The fire shards, though, is not enough to pick up Cynosure. And Cynosure even blinks before getting hit.
Making sure that he can blink, not going to be put in combat by that fire shards. Uzzy still just zoning everyone all the way out to their tier 2 tower. Noble able to fight back and grab that Gold Fury, taking the lead despite being a little bit behind in kills. The gold lead now slightly, very, very slightly in their favor.
And more importantly, they're not letting the experience get out of hand. They were down at 3.5 to 4,000 experience, and now they've basically tied this game up, and Noble's going to be in a good spot here with Chapo making these plays. As long as Stealth can get the levels, this is something that Noble are going to rely very heavily on.
Cynosure actually scares all of Noble off that Fire Demon portal. Despite being the only one from Memory of Gabe there, you can see everyone from Noble still has not backed after that Gold Fury engagement, and that's why you see them a little bit hesitant to try and take the fight on that portal demon. Everyone just kind of hanging out, farming up as much as possible right
Trying
now.
to also build the stacks onto MLC Stealth's Book of Toph, just finishing that off. So the pacing of the game might slow down a little bit for Noble, trying to get off more mana, trying to get off more magical power. We also see Sovereignty being picked up here for Wubbn onto this gap, so going to be more HP 5, making sure that they disengage, that everybody's going to be topped off a little bit.
No team has that big sustain in their kit. No Sylvanas, no Ra this time around. But like you mentioned, I think there were 2 meditations for Noble. They seem to really, really like that relic. I know Uzzy picked that up after level 12. And that HP 5 from Sovereignty, very key. Though I would also like to see a Heartward Amulet being built pretty soon, because there's a lot of magical damage on the side of a Memory of Gabe that Noble has to worry about. Not only your mid laner like you're used to, but that solo lane Cabrakan, he's going to be swinging.
Absolutely. He has a lot of penetration. Now, is he going to get clipped out by Hurriwinds through space and time, but it also clips out the Fire Giant, so Hurriwind has to back off there. Seeing Elchapo on the left-hand side. Eonic's going to try to look for a zone here. Hurriwind doing a good job, but everybody from Noble backing off during the unstable vortex.
Wowy is here and Snoopy is not. Skadi is excellent at split pushing, even with those backdoor protections, no longer being removed by her pet. Uzzy gonna get knocked up, pulled in by Cynosure, very low on mana, immediately stunned, but the Geb Shield buys him some time. Fear no evil there, forces out Hurriwind, and again, it's the Fields of Love from Wowy that sets it up. Cynosure falls.
And Hurriwind had to use that ultimate defensively. Uzzy's gonna find the knock up, the meditation, keeping his mid laner alive, and Uzzy's gonna get rooted in place by Snoopy. Whalrus with the tremors. It's gonna be a 3-on-4, though. Chapo's going to lock down Eonic with the rest of his team. That Heart Bomb is going to stun out too, but everybody has to disengage. Stealth is very low.
The heals are amazing, and Whalrus able to pick up Stealth. Hurriwind finds Chapo as well. The re-engage for Gabe is going beautifully. Wowy and Wubbn, the dual lane, trying to run away, but the ice and the speed from Whalrus, look at how quick they're chasing after this little bee.
Still trying to go for him. They might even look to dive. No, they're not going to look for the tier 2 tower dive. They have to respect the damage, the fact that Wowy is still full health. Instead, they're going to go for the more guaranteed objective on the portal demon, and I'm so surprised that Hurriwind was able to survive that whole engagement. It was a perfectly timed meditation from, I think it was Uzzy that actually kept his mid laner, I'm sorry, from Whalrus to keep his mid laner alive a little bit longer there. And then also staying in the team fight for Hurriwind was the key factor for Memory of Gabe to win the rest of that team fight.
Whalrus finds a huge wall that blocks everyone off from Uzzy, allows in Memory of Gabe to pick up the enemy solo laner, and then the re-engage, Eonic baits himself perfectly. He was so low on HP, gets a big burst heal for mitigate wounds, as well as that meditation that really opens it up. Stealth, he's in trouble. No purification, no Aegis. There's the boulder, but the Geb Shield keeping him safe for now. Wowy, meanwhile, in the jungle, forces out that purification from Cynosure as he jumps away from that Fields of Love. Tier 1 tower stands, but it's very low.
It's about 1% health. The rest of Memory of Gabe, they could just go there and sneeze on that tower if they really wanted to, but it looks like Noble, they really want to hold on to it for a little bit longer. Not going to allow Memory of Gabe to get this 500 gold into their pocket, so it's going to slow things down.
Again, just this game is neck and neck. These two teams very, very even. Noble able to take game one pretty convincingly over in Memory of Gabe, handing them their first loss of the split, trying to make Noble their first 2-0 of the split. In Memory of Gabe trying to salvage at least one game here in week 3 of the SPL.
We're seeing a good adaptation from both teams during their picks and bans, like we were discussing before. Hurriwind taking the Janus away from stealth, forcing him into one of his more normal gods on the Nuwa, and then still managing to really take advantage of it with this Cabrakan pick on the side of Whalrus. But if you look at the flip side, Noble have been doing a good job with their picks and bans as well. They still rely very heavily on Elchapo being aggressive with this Batz, as well as Wubbn with the defensive peeling options for stealth on this Geb.
And Wowy, again, taking this Cupid in the duo lane, so comfortable on this god. We've seen a couple other players pick it up really as a counter pick to someone like Izanami, but even despite with Izanami kind of falling down a little bit in terms of hunter selections, Wowy has been killing it on the young lover boy. 4-0-0 for the hunter, been a part of 4 of the 5 kills, and he spent a lot of time on that solo side of the map. Snoopy hasn't really dedicated himself to the split push quite yet. That's certainly an option open to him with a character like Skadi.
Especially like with the pet, as long as they have the minions. Now granted, you're not going to be able to eliminate those backdoor protections with this new patch, but still will do a respectable amount of damage to towers if left unchecked. Having a lot of physical power with that Transcendence is something that you cannot just let go unchecked. So the rest of Noble, though, they're grouped up around this Gold Fury. They have Sentry Ward control. Wowie's going to hit it from outside the ring, which is why the Gold Fury is not pulled. And by doing that, you're basically throwing out animations so that Memory of Gabe sees it from a distance.
Eonic trying to find the pluck onto someone. Cynosure isn't close enough to follow up the Gravity Surge, but there is the Driving Strike capability. But despite being pulled in, Wubbn not going to eat that Driving Strike. Eonic level 13 right now. Just so tanky on this Hercules support pick. Look at how many wards. Eonic placed 19 already.
That's what he has with the Chalice Vision, and they're still leading the charge. No fear at all. Level 13 gets a level 17 Vamana, which isolates Elchapo on the left-hand side. Forced to jump away. Luckily for him, Cynosure was not in position to find that ultimate.
MLC Stealth in the middle lane here, just trying to save this tier 1 tower. Even a couple minions from a minion wave are able to sneak in there, it's going to be 500 gold the way of In Memory of Gabe. But this means that Noble is a team that's very split up in this team fight. That's been the real difference maker for Noble, is every time they're able to split Gabe up, they're able to take the team fight wins. But this time it's Gabe splitting up Noble just by putting pressure in that middle lane.
Noble wants to be able to just slow things down because the fact that the Book of Top has been picked up for stealth. He's defending the mid lane, building up the magical power a little bit, increasing his mana pool a little bit further on, still trying to finishing off another penetration item, but now diving the tier 1 tower is going to be Memory of Gabe. Eonic tanking it for a little bit longer. Snoopy with one shot, and now shifting their attention towards that Gold Fury.
Got a lot of penetration online. In Memory of Gabe could do this very, very quickly, and Noble recognized that. Wubbn trying to get into that Gold Fury pit. Elchapo and Stealth in the middle lane trying to engage from there as well. They're looking at Whalrus, a little bit caught off there, but no real damage onto him either. Very, very tentative dance around the Gold Fury right now.
Want to make sure that they find the right target at the right time, despite stunning out Eonic. That's still level 13 Hercules support that is extremely resilient. Having Mark of the Vanguard and reinforced Greaves, he's reducing a lot of damage over time coming out, as well as the Sovereignty. This physical defense is through the roof for Eonic, which is a great call for him to go for this option, that stage, considering that Stealth is playing the Nuwa. That doesn't really come online till later on in the game.
No, it does take a little bit of time for Nuwa to really, she wants to have her clay minions maxed out. She can have all 3 that way once she has 5 points in that ability, and that's adding penetration, or excuse me, protection shred, magical protection shred every time that hits you. So you're really relying on that mid to late game damage from the Nuwa, as well as just the base damage on fire shards. Pitiful early game, but towards the later stages of the game, the scaling isn't amazing, but it's very, very strong damage overall.
24.5 minutes into the game. Game is tied, basically. 250 gold in the lead is Memory of Gabe, and that's negligible at this point, honestly. It's just Noble have been so impactful this set compared to their previous sets so far in the spring split, you know, losing to E United, formerly known as Enemy, splitting against Luminosity and Allegiance, but now putting themselves in a pretty good spot in the second game against Memory of Gabe, because normally, like you mentioned before, they normally win their first game. I'm sorry, they lose their first game and then win their second one. So they're really cautious right now just to make sure they find the 2-0 clean sweep.
Uzzy trying to push down this tower in the middle lane, and he will do just that. Exactly what we saw Memory of Gabe do earlier on during this exact same Gold Fury dance. He does the way of a Memory of Gabe. Eonic can eat a little bit of poke, but again, not really worthy. There's the driving strike though onto Wubbn. The Cataclysm's good. There's the Blink Fear No Evil, but it pushes everyone out of that Fields of Love. Eonic able to find the enemy support. Cynosure gonna fall to that Heart Bomb from Wowy. Good fire shard, spreading out the damage. All of Noble fairly low. Chapo trying to handle 2 in those mid-harpies, but he just cannot do so. Snoopy able to pick him up.
Just too distracted. Stealth's going to use the beads, taking a lot of damage. Pull, nowhere to go from Whalrus' ultimate. He's trying to buy a lot of time, but it's not enough. Wowy was using the Aegis, going to dash away the meditation from Eonic, buying a little bit of time, but it's good enough for the driving strike. That's going to be 2 for 4.
Uzzy still trying to get away. No ultimate, no clear the path. There's the slow from Snoopy. There's the Unstable Vortex as well. Uzzy very, very low. There's the meditation, just trying to make something happen here, trying to get out or possibly turn it around onto somebody. Still fighting with 3 members of In Memory of Gabe. Finally, the 5th kill goes their way, but it bought enough time for Wubbn to respawn and maybe try and make something happen around this Gold Fury.
Unofficial D aside, Wubbn could look for the knockup. It's going to hurt out a little bit onto Eonic, but now he's not going to have real contention in terms of being to steal this Gold Fury. Not going to be able to roll in. Eonic still doing a good job zoning the opposition. Hurriwind making a huge impact with that through space and time. The rest of his team took those portals to get in position, and Eonic finding a really early kill in that team fight.
What happened there? Because it looked like Noble was really starting to win that team fight. They pick off Cynosure fairly early, but overall, once Chapo gets isolated in those left side mid-harpies, In Memory of Gabe just starts to win it hand over fist.
The problem was Wowy died really early in that last engagement. He was basically a non-factor. We saw the pull from Eonic, which led to a driving strike as well onto him, but there was a little bit of miscommunication because Cynosure was looking for the gravity surge instead. Either way, they were still very successful because of the pick onto Wowy. And then once the team fight transitioned from around the Gold Fury pit to the right side mid-harpies, the ultimate from Whalrus just shut down MLC Stealth from disengaging. And then, like you mentioned before, Chapo was just too far forward. They really wanted to kill Cynosure. We saw the ultimate from Stealth. We saw the dive as well from Chapo. They didn't both need to do it. One needed to commit, the other needed to hold off the rest of the cooldowns.
Still working on that team synergy, and like you mentioned, Wubbn just a little bit out of position that really starts that whole train going in Memory of Gabe's favor. 14-7, doubling up Noble in kills so far, but still only about 3,500 gold in the lead for this veteran squad of In Memory of Gabe, trying to even up the series here. We're 28 minutes in already. This is already a very late game scenario, Toli, but because of how much dancing there's been around these Fire Giants, around these Gold Furies, the Portal Demon, these teams aren't that far along in their builds.
Absolutely. There's still a very even game. It was a very even game up until the 3 minutes ago when the Gold Fury wasn't even being looked at by either team, but now we're going to see Eonic taking a decent amount of damage. He is very tanky on this Hercules.
So tanky. Now he's got that Shield of Regrowth to give him that extra mobility, some excellent health, and of course that 20% CDR that FDOT is so excited over all the time.
How much?
It's 20. It was 20%.
Oh, I thought it was 20%.
Did you have to move your mic there to make sure you didn't blow out?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure.
Oh, you're a man of the people, Toli. You know, that's what I like about you.
Sometimes you got to respect Twitch chat in 2017.
Absolutely. But Shield of Regrowth taking a little bit of a nerf in this patch, so it's a little bit more expensive now. Still has that 20% CDR though, right? It was just the HP and the cost, I believe?
Yes, it was the health, and health being nerfed, I think, from 300 to 200. And then it was also from 2,000 gold to 2,200 gold, I believe it was. So it's a little bit less effective rushing it right off the bat. It's going to hurt out some builds to delay your late game potential. Still has huge impact with the passive, giving you 40% movement speed as you get a heal.
There's the great pull onto Wubbn and immediately brought back in courtesy of that gravity surge. Chapo around the backside trying to finish off Hurriwind, but he gets off that through space and time. Wubbn finished off by Snoopy and his dog. Uzzy trying to run away from that same exact combination there, but the blink in from Cynosure, the feather step is enough. 2 for 0. Noble now fighting 3v5.
It looked like it was going to be a good engage for Noble as Wubbn got pulled into a good enough position for a Cataclysm, but then Chapo forced the ultimate from Hurriwind defensively, but the damage was just non-existent from Noble to secure any of those kills. And now this Fire Giant is going the way of Memory of Gabe.
Right around the 30-minute mark, right as we hit it, Fire Giant gonna fall fairly soon. Neither Chapo nor Stealth nor Wowy really keen on trying to get in there and steal it away. 5 members strong for Gabe with this Fire Giant buff. 2 clean kills there, and you really don't expect to be able to pull a Geb into your team at the 30-minute mark and have it go your way, but that's been the strategy for In Memory of Gabe so far. Why is that being so successful, considering that, like you mentioned, it could just be setting up for Noble to get a great engage?
It's also the difference between literally one item, the difference between Traveler Shoes and the Reinforced Greaves, not having that option, as well as the Mark of the Vanguard. We're seeing a lot of hurt potential here from Wubbn's tankiness, as well as during the Cataclysm and stuff, he's also wanting to hold on to his shield for stealth or maybe onto Wowy to make sure that they are surviving these team fights. But because it's actually Wubbn getting engaged on, the rest of the team is going to collapse once this gap gets taken off the table.
You also have to give shout-outs to both Snoopy and Hurriwind, and Cynosure for that matter, for excellent positioning to make sure that they also aren't getting hit by the Cataclysm. It's going to probably hit Cyno, it's going to hit Whalrus or Eonic, but as long as it's not hitting these priority backline targets of Hurriwind and Snoopy, it's really not too big of a deal. 5 members of the Fire Giant, like we mentioned, In Memory of Gabe, now starting to take the first real lead of this game, up 7,000 gold at the 31-minute mark. Tier 1 tower on the left side falls. Gold Fury is going to be available soon enough. Noble thinking about defending this Tier 2 tower, though.
Trying to find a pull is Eonic, not going to hit the mark. Elchapo waiting for the right timing to be able to either blink through that wall or jump and make the play. The rest of Memory of Gabe, they're looking for an engage. Eonic still taking a lot of damage. Chapo is still waiting.
Nice double portal there from Hurriwind. Not going to find the home with that unstable vortex, though. Wowy takes a little bit of poke, but of course that healing is a capability there for Cupid. I mentioned there wasn't a whole lot of sustain, but I just don't think of Cupid as sustain a lot of the time, but that's a mistake because he really does provide more than most teams expect.
Especially from the Hunter role. You're not electing to rely on it very heavily, but it will make or break certain team fights and certain sieges, especially with Fire Giant already giving you sustain. You have to fight that sustain with some sustain of your own. So you're not going to see your traditional Sylvanuses or Ra's, but Cupid is nothing to scoff at, especially in the late game once the heart's already maxed out. Most Cupids will max out the dash second to get the attack speed and try to be a little bit more aggressive in these team fights just for the passive alone. But having the hearts now maxed out helps out Noble survive a little longer in these team fights.
As well as the fact that that no longer consumes your passive. Using the hearts used to consume that passive so that your heart bomb would no longer stun. No longer the case. No longer a close game either. In Memory of Gabe up right around that 10,000 gold mark. Very, very close for the majority of this time. Right around 27 minutes, you see a big spike in the blue team's favor. Knock up and push, but no push there onto Wubbn. Chapo into the back line immediately with that Fear No Evil. Stealth very, very low. The Geb shield is good. Fields of Love gonna interrupt Whalrus, and he's gonna be the first to fall. Stealth up into those fire shards, putting out as much damage as he can. Hurriwind low, but he's gonna find Wubbn from a distance. Chapo trying to buy as much time as he can. May actually escape, and he will somehow again. That Sacred Monkey making plays.
He's doing a great job. 1 for 1 thus far. Snoopy's going to have to use his Aegis to survive a little bit. Finds the kill onto Uzzy. Finds the Tier 2 tower. What was a 1 for 1 now becomes a 2 for 2 as Hurriwind falls as well. Cynosure gets credited with a second kill onto Wowy. So it's going to be very difficult now without that Hunter to be able to hold this out a little bit longer. But with only 20 seconds remaining here on Fire Giant for Memory of Gabe, they're going to disengage.
Eonic, the only one left.
Or
not for long, though. There's the rallying ritual. Noble trying to burst him down before Snoopy can get back, but they're unable to do so. And now the teleport's coming in onto Snoopy from Cynosure. There's the change to rallying ritual. Great Geb shield from Wubbn. Gonna save Chapo's life. Eonic trying to backbait everyone right into that Phoenix, but there you see Snoopy and Cynosure can't immediately both teleport back to Eonic, so it takes it a little bit more time for both members to return, but Eonic's able to wait it out on this tanky Hercules, and that middle Phoenix falls because of it.
Memory of Gabe investing into 2 rallying rituals. That's 750 gold each, 1,500 gold total for your team, just to be able to confirm that middle Phoenix. But the timing of that middle Phoenix is very effective here for Memory of Gabe. They got it about 30 seconds ago, so that's going to be 2 fire minions going down the mid wave. That's going to have to be answered by Noble before this fire giant respawns. So Memory of Gabe calculating their options in the late game.
Portal Demon goes their way as well. You can see lots of rituals being bought early on here for In Memory of Gabe. It's not early on, actually. This game has just been so dance-oriented.
Compared
it's been
to
a lot
the
of
last
staring.
game.
Yeah, exactly. The last game was already over by this point 4 minutes ago. Right now, we're 35 minutes in, and we're finally starting to see some rituals pop up for In Memory of Gabe. The Frenzy ritual available for Whalrus, and he may use it to try and burst down this fire giant with the rest of his team. Uzzy in the front line trying to get in there and disrupt Gabe from doing this objective. Eonic all by himself on this right-hand side, but we've seen time and time again just how tanky he can be on this Hercules.
Trying to potentially find Uzzy out of position, but he's taking more damage than he's dishing out. Uzzy's going to dash on through, going to get hit by the icicle. Not too much of a factor, though. The fire giant has been reset, which is a good thing here for Noble, but there's going to be some fire minions in the mid lane. Somebody has to respond to that, and that might allow Memory of Gabe to start things off.
The focus is on to Eonic. They're trying to blow him up before he can get the heal off, and they will do just that through space of time. Not going to find anyone, but Chapo pulled back in. There's the Fields of Love, going to mez out Whalrus, but Cynosure able to pick up Chapo on the backside. Wowy trying to burst it down, but he's not able to do so. Whalrus finds the kill onto him. Stealth just only tickling the enemy solo laner. Whalrus another stun onto Uzzy. There's the portal. There's the unstable vortex. Hurriwind claps down the solo laner. 3 dead again for Noble, and In Memory of Gabe only lose their support.
Well, Noble got what they wanted. They got Eonic. That was just a little bit too much invested onto him, you know, sacrificing 3 people in the process. Elchapo taking a quick spill immediately after Eonic was not something that he really wanted to do, and something that Memory of Gabe did differently this team fight compared to the last was Hurriwind was not pressured at all in that team fight, which allowed him to use his ultimate offensively for everyone to reposition themselves whichever way they please.
Cynosure just getting real deep back into that back line, courtesy of that flickering ritual as well, which also allows him to escape if necessary. Great play out of the jungler. I usually think of Awilix as the early game jungler, but still making the impact at the 36-minute mark. I just noticed this totally, but Wowy has 9 of Noble's 10 kills. You look at the 3v3 core for Noble in this game, 0-3, 0-5, 0-5 at this stage in the game.
Season 3 and Season 4 have certainly changed things quite a bit here in this matchup, at least, as the Hunter has been a bigger impact than, like you mentioned, that 3v3, whereas you see basically 90% of your kill participation involved in, but they've still been involved in some of these kills, you know, 8 assists on the middle and support, 7 on the side of the jungler, without having those portals onto stealth compared from the first to the second game here. This is the biggest difference for Noble. They're not able to allow Chapo to really dive the backline, or at least get out once he does dive the backline.
Absolutely. Snoopy also making a big impact for Gabe. 6-1 and 11 for the Hunter, but top of the player damage charts on this Skadi. First time we've seen Skadi in the SPL in quite some time, and certainly making it look pretty effective here for Gabe, for Snoopy. But again, Wowy, second on the player damage charts. But Nuwa has finished that rod of Tahuti, and if Noble can find a good defense, they've got a lot of great push potential with those clay minions. The problem is they've got a lot of towers to knock down in the process.
Oh, hold that thought, though. Doing a lot of damage onto Hurriwind. It's going to force out the beats and the ultimate. Chapo forced to use that flickering ritual, and Hurriwind's going to fall to Stealth's ultimate.
Great use of fire shards that time. Chapo forced to use a flickering ritual to get away from that dog of Snoopy, but a 1-for-0 trade in favor of Noble. I love the heads-up play there from Hurriwind, though. Knows he's dead to fire shards, knows he doesn't have Aegis, just now coming off cooldown, so he turns and fires through space and time to try and get a pick back onto Chapo. Didn't happen, but love the heads-up play from him.
Had to do something in response, and having the sentry vision between the mid and the left-hand side was what allowed Chapo to spot out Hurriwind around the corner, and something a lot of Janus players like to do around these late-game sieges is position themselves in the jungle, look for that ultimate through the walls, and then look to just dive the backline with the rest of their teammates, utilizing the portals to go through the wall, but Chapo obviously knows this all too frequently, and having that vision control basically secured a free kill onto Hurriwind because his Aegis was down at that point.
Really important pick, and that really slows down the push from In Memory of Gabe. We're getting close to that 40-minute mark here. Gabe doubling up Noble's kills, 22-11, but Noble still in the game. But like I mentioned, they've got a lot of towers to knock down, even if they are able to defend once more. The Fire Giant only going to be on the 3 remaining members of Gabe for the next 55 seconds. So we could see them try and siege down this tier 2 tower on the right-hand side, or potentially look at that weakened Phoenix in middle.
Still a great hold overall from Noble. Not able to lose their mid Phoenix repeatedly, as well as delaying the fire for quite a while.
The blink on to stealth, but the Aegis saves him from the through space and time. There's the ice shards as well. Frenzy Ritual popped by Noble, but just not quite enough damage to kill anyone. Hurriwind blinks in and finds Chapo with the shotgun there. Hurriwind making use of an aggressive blink, as will Cynosure, who blinks in, finds Uzzy. The pull is good. The shield over the wall, excellent from Wubbn, and it's enough to get out his solo laner.
Oh my goodness, the offensive play from Hurriwind, buying Flickering Ritual and using it offensively. The comeback and the revenge from Tyler.
Yeah. Absolutely able to show Chapo what it's like to get blinked on himself in that scenario. Chapo now dead for the next 35 seconds. Still 3 members with Fire Giant, though it actually just fell off of In Memory of Gabe. But there's the Frenzied Ritual. This Phoenix is so low already. Once Noble sees that yellow band, they're done. They're out. You can have that one, but I expect to see them trying to defend this left side Phoenix a little harder.
Well, no more Frenzied Ritual. That 750 gold has been consumed, but without a minion wave on the left-hand side, it's going to be really tricky to really find this left Phoenix. That dog is not going to eliminate the backdoor protection. Eonic, though, he has a frenzy of his own.
Oh, wow, he gets caught off beautifully by Whalrus. The Aegis is good, trying to get him out of there. Now Uzzy's the one caught between that. Through space and time, not going to be able to hit anyone there. Eonic falling pretty low. Wubbn looking to find the Cataclysm. Uzzy, or rather Chapo is respawned and he's in the fight. Left side Phoenix stands for Noble.
Great hold yet again. Noble basically eliminated the whole duration of the Fire Giant push from Memory of Gabe, respawning in about 5 seconds. And despite only losing their middle Phoenix here, that's the best case scenario for Noble. They don't take any damage on their Titan. They still hold on to their left, so therefore it's not going to be weakened at all. It's still also going to sustain itself back up here. And with everybody backing from Memory of Gabe, this could allow Noble to potentially start it up here, but without Wowy or Stealth there, they don't have the DPS to burst it quick enough.
Exactly. Wowy on that left-hand side, just making sure that the minions aren't too close to that Phoenix and could put some pressure on it all by themselves. Chapo going in onto Cynosure. There's the gravity surge, forces out that purification from Chapo. That's a good trade in favor of In Memory of Gabe, getting out that relic for a fairly low cooldown ultimate in Gravity Surge.
If Chapo's going to play this aggressively against Cynosure, whereas he gets countered because of that jump, he needs to not use the purification and rely on Wubbn to be able to shield him out of that kind of danger.
Well, Wubbn wasn't there that time to save him, so there is a little bit of a window for In Memory of Gabe to play aggressive. Portal Demon's finished off, and Uzzy, he finds everyone as they come through that portal. No Gravity Surge there. Whalrus on the mark with the ultimate, but the walls aren't effective in that position. A lot of damage, a lot of ultimates used. Great double pluck there. Through space and time, hits multiple stealth. Very, very low, and he's going to fall to the blink in from Cynosure, who then Flickering Rituals out. There's the frenzy pop by Whalrus, trying to find someone in the jungle. Uzzy doing his best, but in the late game, that Colossal Fury not nearly as effective. The driving strike is going to finish him off with the help of Snoopy. Again, 2 dead for Noble. Stealth just didn't have his relics there and gets sniped out by Hurriwind.
A lot of damage the Titan's about to take, but people from Noble will respond to it. They have to concede the Fire Giant, another Frenzied Ritual, just to be able to get this Fire Giant a little quicker. Surprisingly enough, nobody from Noble really even here to contest it, but rather safe than sorry is Memory of Gabe. They have the Fire Giant in all 5 members. Uzzy's still dead for 40, Stealth for 30. This could be a 5-on-3 that could win the game for Memory of Gabe, splitting this set.
Frenzy is available for Eonic, but he's got to walk all the way there. Doesn't have the rallying ritual available to him. You see Chapo, instead of finishing off a 6th item, instead just buys 2 rituals instead. He's got a Frenzy and a Flickering just in case he gets into a sticky situation. Left side Phoenix is tanked up for a moment by Snoopy's dog, Caldir, but again, doesn't remove backdoor protections anymore. Clearly not that big of a deal at the 43-minute mark. as In Memory of Gabe knocked down the middle and left side Phoenixes.
Everybody from Gabe is full build. They have the Fire Giant. They got the 2 Phoenixes thus far. They're going to go for the third one before committing towards that Titan room. They didn't get the left side Phoenix quick enough before the respawns from Stealth and Uzzy took into effect. So they have a good spot here to be able to get this last remaining Phoenix. We see them repositioning themselves now towards middle Phoenix as it's about to respawn though.
Yeah, middle Phoenix going to spawn soon, and it's going to be very, very weak. So that's why you see In Memory of Gabe looking at that. Eonic still just being this frontline tanky Hercules that Noble has only really been able to kill once in this entire game, and they lost the team fight because of it, and he cannot be the focus.
Still looking for a pull is Eonic. Doesn't necessarily want to pull Uzzy though. It's going to be very tanky. Choppa waiting on the left-hand side for the right timing, engage with that blink. Memory of Gabe still looking for something here at the 45-minute mark.
Fire Giant minions pouring in. There's the Frenzy pop to blink in from Eonic, but Chapo's in the backside looking at the carries. Cynosure very low, but Wowy immediately finishes off Whalrus. Fire Shards does a ton of damage there from MLC Stealth. Frenzy popped again, and Uzzy puts Snoopy down.
It's 2-0 right now. Nova's leading the charge. It's 5-on-3. They're going to need to find some kills, but the longer they go, the left-hand side is going to find some fire minions. Eonic is so tanky here. The ultimate being used by Wowy just to secure that kill. Can they win here? 5-on-2?
There's a lot of towers left, but they still have that Frenzy ritual
Titan
from Uzzy. Titan's going to take a decent amount of damage. Hurriwind is backing. He and Cynosure are the only 2 still up. Uzzy's going to back to make sure that that Titan room is defended from any possible push from those fire minions or potentially a backdoor play.
Hurriwind and Cynosure are the last remaining hope here for Memory of Gabe. I don't think this might necessarily be the win here for Noble, but they certainly want at least this
Uzzy's
middle
back.
Phoenix. They're actually going for the win here.
They've got the Frenzy. They're trying to make a play. It's popped. They're trying to commit to the Titan. Hurriwind and Cynosure trying to do it, but the Fear No Evil creates enough space.
Noble
Titan's
win.
falling. Noble's going to take the 2-0.
The comeback from Noble. Oh my goodness. Memory of Gabe fall. Their first 2 losses in the whole split.
Wow. I mean, there were so many towers still available there for In Memory of Gabe, but you see, I mean, we're at 46 minutes. Everyone is full build. The Frenzy's important, yes,
absolutely.
But I mean, the full build capabilities of a team that has 5 members still strong, the Titan fell so quickly there.
The presence of mind also from Uzzy to back initially, defend for a little bit on the Titan, and then use that rallying ritual to come back into it just to seal the deal.
Well, the deal was sealed by Noble. They take the 2-0 victory, their first of their young team's career here in the spring split. Tom, let's break it down.
Thanks a lot, Ryan and Toli. Fantastic stuff coming out from Noble today. The 2-0, right now we're going to really talk about these games in memory of Gabe. These guys were clearly the top card, and it just didn't work out this time. Game number 1 was pretty cut and dry, real talk. Nothing too extravagant coming out. You can take a look at the stats, and honestly, the player damage separated by almost 30,000 damage. A lot more coming out from Noble. Like I said, just not really too much to this one. Gabe just couldn't really bring it. Noble came through. Almost every single member of the team really brought it. Here's an awesome ultimate coming out from the Cannon. MLC Stealth. I heard you have to use that voice when calling him the Cannon. And realistically, he has a fantastic game. He plays out of his mind. And the rest of the team does the same thing. MLC starts off early by getting a couple of kills, and then Wowy gives us a nice little preview of what Game 2 is going to be looking like, because he gets a couple of kills. Shout out to Cynosure. Got to show some love to the Thanatos players. But real talk, it's just Noble. It's 7-3 right now at 14 minutes. Wowy gets the Doubleoon here, and then they just continue. MLC comes back, finding some more kills. Bad Luck 13 up there at top, but MLC is going to make that into number 14, even though the hard-to-kill Hercules is standing. Not for long. Whalrus going to fall down 14-4, leading by 10 kills, and that's pretty much the entirety of the story. MLC gets a bunch of kills, Wowy gets a bunch of kills, Chapo's going to show up and do work as well. Uzzy right there just stomping faces with the boots on. This is what this Noble team did, and this is what this Noble team has been about since minute 1. They've been about an entire unit, finding the victory via the entire unit. A couple of times we've seen Chapo really carry the game. A couple of times, I mean, we've seen MLC step up. Wowy's even made his note. But when it comes down to it, this team is about finding wins as a unit, finding wins as an entire team, And this game is pretty much exactly the textbook definition of what Noble was really looking for when their season began. They were just looking for players to come out individually and come together and coalesce to create a winning unit, and that's what this game was. All players coming together and finding their wins. The team wound up just an incredible situation, despite the fact that we saw a little bit of a lead coming out from Gabe early. Noble was able to take it over and bring it back and just completely destroy the opposition. Game number 2 was a little bit different, honestly. We saw Gabe off to a strong start very early on, and in the long game that it was. 47 minutes in total, if I'm not mistaken. And when I say very early on, I mean relatively. The game was tied for about 30 minutes or so, and then we finally see a step forward coming out from Gabe at around the 26th minute mark. You can see our stats coming out here. The story is much better told in the replays. So right away, why don't we take a look towards one of the separation points here. The first replay that we have is a fire giant fight. Like I said, around the half-hour mark. The kills are lopsided, but the gold is relatively similar. Gabe is ahead 4K because of a gold fury they just took, and this is the play that really sets the game up for In Memory of Gabe. They come through and they're able to get a pull off of a nice blink flip coming out from the Hercules player. And then Awilix, Cynosure is able to clean up 1, and then 2 getting Uzzy after the fact. This, however, is the turnaround. In Memory of Gabe come and they try to push into the enemy base, being ahead, what is that, 30,000 gold, 20,000 gold? And Noble, on the other hand, respond accordingly. They pop a frenzy, they come down the lane, and they find the kills. These players are going to fall to the wayside, and because of that, Noble are able to do one of the more classic plays in Smite, get the late game deicide, march down the middle lane, just take out a tower, take out a Firebird, and take out the Titan. But here's what happens in between there. There was a whole game to watch in between there. 30 minutes of a tie game, and then one single play turns the game around. But what happened in between? One word. It's Wowy. The Hunter just came out playing his Cupid, which has become his signature character. This guy, we've seen Hunters, we've seen Barracuda like Cupid, we've seen the Cupid before, shout out to Zapman, but very few players, if any, have really taken Cupid and made him their own. Wowy here not only comes through in the clutch with an incredible amount of healing, but also an incredible amount of damage. The man winds up with an almost flawless slash line, just dials it down the middle. All of these highlights throughout the entire game come from Wowy. Game number 1, team victory. Everybody put in their due, about 4-5 kills to almost every single player. This game, it's Wowy season. Continuously just slaying it, winding up in the kill column, and then of course the team winds up with the enemy wipe, taking the 2-0 over In Memory of Gabe. Noble Esports topples In Memory of Gabe. Didn't think I'd be saying that today. Certainly a lot of fun. That's going to do it for the first 3 games of our situation here at the SPL. We've got 1 game left. It's going to be Thursday Night Smite. We're bringing the whole crew out, so go get a drink. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll be back with Wubbn, actually. I got somebody to interview real quick. We're going to talk to the support on Noble Esports. My apologies for that one. Wubbn, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. I didn't really want to talk to you, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. You guys played absolutely fantastic. I'm going to talk to you right away about your teammate. Wowy here went off in game number 2. You have been a long time teammate of Wowy's. You guys obviously played last season and have done well before that. What can you tell me? What's Wowy like?
He just works really hard. Him and me finally found 3 players that we love. We have our coach Drelo, and I think he's on top of his game right now. I think he's actually the best player in the SPL. Wow. The best ADC in the SPL.
Big praise. Got to say position because, I mean, you think you're the best, of course. But but Wowy really pulling out all the stops. Do you think this is something different that we're seeing this year, or has Wowy always been this good and he's just finally getting a chance to show it off?
I think the past couple of months, him and me have just put in a ton of work, along with our 3 teammates, Stealth, Chapo, and Uzzy. We've just been putting in so much work, and I think it's finally showing.
So that's the next direction I wanted to go to was the rest of the team. You know, you guys are kind of 3 kind of sections. You've got Uzzy and Chapo that played together last season. You and Wowy obviously played together. And then MLC kind of comes in the mix, sort of combination of nobody really wanted him. He kind of jumps in the last second. And you guys have, you know, a lot of people were sitting there saying synergy issues, this, that, or a third. Game number 1, you look like a well-oiled machine. How has this team come together?
It's the leadership from Chapo. Drelo is an amazing coach. I want to give a shout out to him, and we just get along together so well. I love all the guys on the team.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell it. It certainly was a very strong look. And last question I want to ask you about the games today was 2-0 over in Memory of Gabe. I know what you have to tell me, but did you really expect to win this one against one of the Titan teams of the United States?
Yes, I did.
Just that cut and dry? You just expected
Yep.
it?
We did. We're very confident.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear about that confidence. I think a lot of people have counted you out for the season, but clearly the smart people are watching with close eyes. If you had to pick one thing about Noble, what makes you the most confident going forward?
Wowy.
Wowy? Just Wowy?
Just Wowy.
Just
Wowy and
Wowy.
Chop's leadership. Obviously the cannon. Uzzy, myself. I don't know. I love everyone.
It's just the unit. Sounds like you guys have a nice machine over there. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to say to the fans at home?
Shout out to my 4 teammates. Shout out to Drelo, our coach. Shout out to Noble. And shout out to my mom.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Wubbn. Really appreciate it. That, of course, is the support Wubbn for Noble. We actually got to talk to him this time. Now, we're going to cut to a break. We're going to bring the whole crew out here. We're actually going to do it this time. 5 minutes. We'll be right back with Thursday Night Smite. We'll see you soon.